He loved me thinking I was an omega, gentle, yielding, someone who would fit neatly into the space he'd already decided was his. He touched me like I might break, spoke to me like I needed protecting, loved me in a way that made sense only if I stayed smaller than him. I let him believe it. Then the truth came out. I wasn't an omega. I was an alpha. And the moment he realized that the person he loved could stand eye to eye with him, could challenge him, could refuse to bend, he didn't argue. He didn't fight. He left the country. That's what he called it. Opportunity, distance, time. I called it what it was. Running. Now my parents sit across from me, composed and proud, discussing alliances and compatibility like my past isn't sitting between us like a loaded weapon. Your partner has been carefully selected, my mother says. An alpha, from a respected family. They slide the file toward me. I don't open it right away. I already know how this kind of story punishes people like me. When I finally do, the name inside belongs to the man who loved me only when he thought I was weaker. Title: The Alpha He Ran From. Welcome to BL Without Labels, where the story isn't defined by words. Stay with the story. Support us. Chapter 1. Marriage Proposal is a Disaster. My name is Liang Ren. I am 25 years old, and I am not the person he left behind 5 years ago. I am an alpha, not the loud kind, not the kind that needs dominance to feel secure. My presence doesn't crash into rooms. It settles, waits, watches. That restraint was mistaken once for softness. It won't be mistaken again. When my designation was confirmed, it disrupted more than a relationship. It shifted my place within my family, my value in negotiations I was never meant to be part of. Alphas like me are useful, not because we are strong, but because we don't attract attention until it's too late. That is why my parents are arranging this match. Not for love, not for reconciliation, for balance. 2 alphas, 2 families, 1 controlled narrative. They never asked if I wanted this. They assumed compliance the way they always have, by surrounding the decision with politeness and inevitability, by choosing the one person whose presence might make me hesitate or submit. When I see him standing in the reception room, older, sharper, wearing authority like it belongs to him, I understand something I wish I didn't. This was never coincidence. His alpha presence brushes against mine, instinct recognizing instinct. My body responds before my pride can stop it. The pull. I hate it. Our eyes meet. Recognition. Shock. Then careful neutrality. So, he says calmly, as if 5 years of silence were nothing more than a delay. You're my assigned partner. I straighten, letting my presence rise just enough to remind him, and myself, of the truth he once ran from. No, I say. I'm your equal. And whatever my parents are hiding, whatever they think this bond will fix, they've underestimated what happens when 2 alphas remember exactly why they broke each other. Chapter 2. What I ran from. I recognize him immediately. That's the problem. 5 years, a different country, a different life, and my instincts still react before my mind can pretend this is just another arrangement my parents forced on me. Liang Ren. He's standing straighter than I remember. Not taller, he was always tall, but settled, like someone who knows exactly how much space he's allowed to take and intends to use all of it. Alpha. The word doesn't scare me anymore. What scares me is that it never really did. When I loved him, I thought he was an omega, gentle in the ways that mattered, careful, quiet, someone who softened when I stepped closer. I told myself that was compatibility. What I didn't name, what I refused to examine, was how much I needed him to stay smaller so I wouldn't have to question myself. When the truth surfaced, it wasn't anger that drove me away. It was panic. An alpha who didn't need me. An alpha who could look at me without lowering his eyes. An alpha who could refuse. I told myself leaving was temporary, strategic, necessary. I told myself distance would make the memory dull. Didn't. Now he's here, in his parents' house like he never left. And I'm the one being evaluated, measured not by my achievements abroad, but by how I stand in front of him. He doesn't look surprised to see me. That hurts more than I expect. When I say, "You're my assigned partner," it comes out neutral. polite, the voice of someone who learned how to survive meetings where every word could be weaponized. His correction lands cleanly. No, I'm your equal. The room stills. I feel it then clearly, undeniably. Not nostalgia, not regret, threat, not because he's aggressive, because he isn't. His alpha presence doesn't press to dominate mine. It meets it, holds, refuses to give ground. That was always the part one didn't know how to love. I glanced toward his parents, then mine. The way they watch us isn't hopeful. It's calculating. This isn't about reconciliation. This is containment. Two alphas with history. One bond designed to keep both of us predictable. And the worst part? If they'd chosen anyone else, I would have refused without hesitation. But they chose him. The one man who knows exactly where my certainty fractures. I meet his gaze again, and for the first time since I left, I don't look away. If this is punishment, then fine. But if this is strategy, I won't be the only one forced to face what I ran from. Chapter 3, Closed Door. The door closes behind us with a sound that's too soft to be comforting. Privacy doesn't feel like relief. It feels like exposure. The room is neutral. Guest quarters prepared in advance. Impersonal in that deliberate way meant to discourage ownership. My parents planned this down to the smallest detail. Separate rooms. Shared space. Controlled proximity. As if distance could prevent collision. He stands near the window, hands loose at his sides. Not defensive. Not relaxed either. He hasn't taken off his coat. I notice that before I want to. So, he says, not turning around. You're not even going to pretend this is normal? I close the door fully and lean against it, arms crossed. Not to shield myself, but to stay still. Normal. I echo. You disappeared for 5 years. Now you're back as my assigned partner. Which part of that should I ease into? He exhales through his nose, a restrained sound. Familiar. It used to mean he was choosing his words carefully. I didn't disappear, he says. I left. That's the same thing when you don't come back. He turns then, slowly, studies my face like he's recalibrating. Matching memory to reality and failing to make them align. You didn't try to stop me, he says. I let the silence stretch long enough to hurt. You didn't give me anything to stop. Something shifts in his expression. Not anger, not guilt, recognition. You knew, he says quietly. Before I did. I suspected. I correct. I hoped you'd prove me wrong. He looks away again, jaw tight. When they told me you were an alpha, he says, I didn't know how to. Stay. I interrupt. My voice is steady. That costs me more than I let show. You didn't know how to stay. The word hangs between us. Heavy. He takes a step closer. One. Stops at a respectful distance. Like he's afraid proximity might provoke something he can't control. You let me believe you were an omega, he says. Yes. Why? The question is sharper than the accusation. I uncross my arms. Straighten. Let him see me without defenses. Because you loved me that way, I say. And I wasn't ready to find out whether you could love me any other. His throat moves. He doesn't answer immediately. I loved you, he says finally. I know. And you think that disappears just because I was wrong about who you were? I laugh softly. Once. No humor in it. No, I say. I think it changes when you run the moment you realize I don't need you. That lands. His alpha presence flares, not aggressive, but instinctive. Mine answers automatically. The air tightens. Two forces testing without touching. For a moment, neither of us backs down. Then he steps away. This arrangement, he says, voice controlled again, wasn't my idea. Then we agree on something. My parents said it was necessary, he continues. That your family insisted. I tilt my head. Watch him closely. My parents insist on many things, I say. They rarely explain why. He studies me for a long moment. You don't trust this, he says. No. You don't trust me, he adds. That one takes a fraction longer to answer. I don't trust the version of you that left, I say. I don't know this one yet. Silence settles again. Thick, unresolved. Outside this room, plans are being finalized. Papers drafted. Futures negotiated. Inside it, two alphas stand on opposite sides of a past that refuses to stay buried. If this is going to work, he says quietly, we need rules. I push off the door and meet him halfway, close enough now that instinct hums under my skin. No, I reply. If this is going to work, we need honesty. His eyes darken, not with desire, but with something more dangerous. Understanding. And for the first time since he left, I think he realizes, whatever our parents planned, they didn't account for what happens when the truth is finally spoken aloud. Chapter 4. Necessary. They don't argue after we leave the room. That's the first sign. My parents sit exactly where we left them. Tea untouched. Expressions composed in the way people wear when they've already accounted for resistance. His parents mirror them across the table. 4 pillars of certainty surrounding a future that has already been decided. Did you speak? My mother asks. We did, I answer. And we agreed on one thing. Her eyebrow lifts slightly. Oh, this arrangement isn't coincidence. A pause. Brief. Controlled. My father sets his cup down with care. You're perceptive. That confirmation lands heavier than denial would have. This bond, my mother continues smoothly, is not about reconciliation or sentiment. Her gaze flicks briefly to him. History is irrelevant. History. I almost smile. Then explain the timing. I say. Explain why you waited 5 years. Explain why it had to be him. This time the pause stretches. His father speaks instead. Because you are both alphas who do not fit easily into existing structures. That's a polite way of saying inconvenient, he says. Unpredictable, my father corrects. And that is precisely the issue. The air tightens. My mother finally looks directly at me. Ren, you are not like other alphas. You resist bonding. You question authority. You move quietly, which makes people underestimate you. She says it like an observation, like a diagnosis. And he, my father adds, nodding toward the man beside me, left rather than adapt. He chose distance over confrontation. That, too, is instability. I feel him stiffen next to me. So you decided to tie 2 problems together. I say. That's your solution? Yes. My mother replies without hesitation. Balance. His alpha presence flares, sharp now. You're using us. My father doesn't deny it. We are ensuring continuity. Silence falls again. But this time it's different. Charged. Dangerous. What happens if we refuse? Ask. The answer comes too quickly. Then we release the report. My mother says calmly. My blood chills. What report? She hesitates, just enough to tell me this is the real weapon. A classification review, she says. Your delayed designation. Your resistance to bonding. Certain anomalies. Anomalies. I feel it then, the outline of the cage they've been building around me for years. Paperwork. Labels. Medical language sharp enough to cut autonomy away without ever raising a voice. They can't force us, he says. They can, his father replies. If the narrative is framed correctly. I turn to him then, not my parents, not the table, but the one person who understands what it means to have your identity rewritten by someone else's fear. This is why you came back, I say quietly. Not for me. He meets my gaze. No, he admits. But staying might be. Something unspoken passes between us. Not forgiveness. Not trust. Alignment. Whatever our parents intended, they miscalculated one thing. They assumed we would turn on each other. Instead, we stand side by side. And for the first time, I understand why they're afraid of us. Chapter 5. Performance. The announcement goes public the next morning. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just a controlled release through the right channels. Family statements. Carefully chosen words. A photograph taken from an angle that suggests unity without intimacy. 2 alphas. A strategic bond. A symbol of stability. No one asks whether we want it. They assume we already agreed. By evening, we're standing side by side in a reception hall filled with people who pretend not to stare. Crystal lights, low music, the kind of gathering where conversations glide instead of collide. He offers me his arm. It's a question disguised as etiquette. I take it. The contact is brief, fabric, warmth, restraint, but my instincts react anyway. Not submission, recognition, the awareness of another alpha close enough to matter. I hate how natural it feels. You look composed, he murmurs, lips barely moving. So do you, I reply. Congratulations. You're convincing. A corner of his mouth lifts. Not a smile. Something sharper. That's what they trained me for. We move through the room like we've rehearsed this. He introduces me to people I already know. I return the favor. Our steps align without discussion. Our pauses sync. From the outside, it must look effortless. It isn't. Every time someone congratulates us, I feel the lie tighten around my ribs. Every time he glances at me, I wonder if he's measuring, checking whether I still unsettle him the way I used to. Someone comments on our compatibility. Both alphas, they say approvingly. Such balance. His hand tightens briefly at my elbow. Balance. Later, after enough glasses are emptied and enough assurances exchanged, he leans closer. Walk with me, he says quietly. Not a request. Not an order. We step out onto the terrace, the noise dulling behind us. Night air cuts through the stiffness in my shoulders. For a moment, neither of us speaks. Then he exhales. This is worse than I imagined, he says. I glance at him. You imagined it? I imagined control, he admits. I didn't imagine this. He gestures vaguely between us. You're doing fine, I say. That's not what I mean. He turns to face me fully. The city lights catch in his eyes, sharp and unguarded in a way I haven't seen yet. When I left, he says, I told myself it was temporary, that I'd come back when I understood myself better. And, I came back because I finally do. I wait. Silence has always been my advantage. I wasn't afraid of you being an alpha, he continues. I was afraid of what that meant about me. My chest tightens despite myself. You loved me, I say, not accusing, just stating a fact. Yes, he says immediately. And I hated that my love depended on you being smaller. The honesty lands harder than an apology would have. So you left, I say. Yes. And now you're here. Yes. I study him, this man who once chose distance, now standing in the open without retreating. Why accept this marriage? Ask. Why not run again? His gaze doesn't waver. Because running didn't make me stronger, he says. It just delayed the moment I had to face you. The air between us tightens, not with instinct this time, but with something heavier. Choice. Footsteps approach. Voices. The spell fractures. He steps back, mask sliding into place with practiced ease. I mirror him. When we return inside, someone raises a glass to us. To the future, they say. I lift mine, not because I believe them, but because, for the first time, I'm curious what happens when neither of us runs. Chapter 6. Fault line. The report surfaces 3 days later. Not officially, not through my parents. It arrives folded into my life like a rumor, half-heard, poorly explained, dangerous precisely because no one wants to name it outright. I'm in the training wing when I feel it. A subtle shift, prickle under my skin. My alpha presence flares without warning, sharp enough to draw attention from the room. Conversations stall. Someone glances my way, uneasy. I excuse myself before anyone can ask questions. He's already there when I reach the corridor, leaning against the wall like he belongs in this space now, like he's been waiting. You felt it too, he says. I don't ask what it is. Yes. We stand too close, not touching. Worse. There's a review circulating, he continues. About you. I laugh softly. Of course there is. It's not just administrative, he says. They're calling it an anomaly. The word lands like a bruise I've learned to ignore. They always do, I reply. No, he says. This time they're afraid. That makes me look at him. He meets my gaze steadily. No deflection. No distance. They think your delayed designation wasn't random, he says. They think your presence disrupts established alpha hierarchies. I feel my instincts coil, not defensive, not aggressive. Aware. They're considering containment, he adds. Through you, I say. His silence is answer enough. Is that why you're staying? I ask quietly. To keep me manageable? He steps closer before he can stop himself. The air snaps, alpha to alpha, instinct recognizing threat and familiarity at the same time. No, he says. I stayed because if anyone's going to stand in front of you, it should be someone who won't flinch. I swallow. That's not protection, I say. That's possession. Maybe, he admits. Or maybe it's choosing the side I should have chosen 5 years ago. The hallway hums around us, electric, too narrow. My instincts push, testing boundaries. His answer without dominance. We lock there, suspended, neither willing to yield. For one reckless second, I think about closing the distance. Not to submit, to collide. I step back instead. This changes nothing, I say. I won't be managed. I know, he replies, and something like pride flickers in his expression. That's why they're scared. Footsteps echo nearby. Reality presses in. When he turns to leave, he hesitates. Ren, he says, if this breaks. I meet his gaze. It won't, I say. But if it does, it won't be because we're equal. He nods once, accepts it. As he walks away, my instincts finally settle. Uneasy, alert, alive. Whatever fault line my parents uncovered, it isn't between us. It runs straight through the system they're trying to protect. Chapter 7. When I was smaller, 5 years ago, I smelled like lies. Not the sharp, dominant edge of an alpha, but the softened, sweetened restraint I'd learned to wear like a second skin. He loved that version of me. I remember the first time he touched my wrist. Careful, reverent, like he was handling something fragile. Does it hurt? He asked, voice low, concerned. I laughed then, shook my head. I'd already learned how to lie with my whole body. I'm fine, I said, and he smiled like that answer mattered. Back then, he stood half a step ahead of me in every room. Not aggressively, naturally. Alphas were supposed to lead. Omegas were supposed to follow. That was the shape of the world we'd been handed, and he fit it perfectly. He opened doors for me, lowered his voice when I flinched at crowds, curled around me in bed like a shield. At night, when the world went quiet, he would press his forehead to mine and whisper, I'll take care of you. I believed him, or maybe I just wanted to. The first crack appeared during a sparring match. We were watching from the stands, his arm draped loosely around my shoulders. 2 alphas faced off in the ring, equal in size, equal in strength. The crowd roared. I leaned forward, pulse quickening. Who do you think will win? He asked. The one on the left, I said instantly. He's holding back. He blinked, looked at me properly. Not gently, not indulgently. How can you tell? I shrugged. Footwork, balance. He's waiting. The alpha on the left won 30 seconds later. He laughed it off, said it was luck. But his grip on my shoulder tightened just slightly. That night, he didn't say I'll take care of you. The truth came out on a rain-soaked evening. I hadn't planned it. I never do. Stress fractures lies. My suppressant patch had failed. The room smelled wrong, too sharp, too clean, to me. He froze the moment he walked in. Brows knitting, eyes darkening. Why do you smell like that? I remember the exact second I decided not to lie anymore. I'm an alpha, I said, calm, exhausted, done pretending. The silence that followed was deafening. He didn't shout, didn't accuse, didn't ask questions. He just stepped back, like I'd crossed an invisible line. That's not funny, he said eventually. I know. The realization hit him slowly, horribly, like something precious cracking under pressure. You let me. He stopped himself, swallowed. You let me think you were smaller, I offered quietly. That hurt him, I could tell, because his eyes flashed, not with betrayal, but with fear. Fear of equality. Fear of losing the ground beneath his feet. I need time, he said. Time turned into distance. Distance turned into departure. A week later, he was gone. No fight. No goodbye worth remembering. Just a message sent from an airport lounge. I can't do this. I'm sorry. Now, 5 years later, he sits across from me at a polished dining table, wearing authority like he learned how to earn it the hard way. An alpha honed by absence. Our gazes lock. For a moment, the past presses in. His hands careful on my skin. His voice warm with promises made to someone he believed was weaker. Then the present asserts itself. 2 alphas. Equal weight. Unfinished history. I don't look away. Neither does he. And for the first time, I wonder, not why he left, but why he came back. Chapter 8. The clause. The document isn't thick. That's what unsettles me. No endless legal padding. No ornamental language. Just clean pages, crisp margins, and a title printed in sterile black. Bond Stabilization Agreement. I don't touch it at first. Across the table, my mother folds her hands. Calm. Expectant. Like she's waiting for a student to reach the obvious conclusion. This isn't a marriage contract, I say. No, she agrees. It's a containment protocol. The word lands without apology. I glance at him. His jaw tightens, but he doesn't look surprised. You knew, I say quietly. I knew there was a clause, he replies. I didn't know the wording. My father slides the document closer. Your presence, Ren, creates instability in alpha hierarchies. Not emotionally, biologically. I skim the page now. Dual alpha proximity has shown measurable suppression of volatile dominance spikes. Legal bond status increases compliance and reduces external interference. I laugh once. Sharp. Humorless. So this is research, I say. I'm not getting married. I'm being studied. Protected. My mother corrects. Neutralized. I counter. She doesn't deny it. His father finally speaks. You're both too visible. Too powerful. Alone, you disrupt balance. Together, bonded, you become predictable. Predictable. I look at him again. That's why you, I say. Not just because of the past. Because you're the only alpha who doesn't escalate against me. He exhales slowly. I don't need to. The admission is quiet. Honest. Dangerous. The room feels smaller. And marriage? Ask. Why not assignment? Why not guardianship? Because marriage, my father says, is voluntary on paper. There it is. The lie dressed as choice. If we refuse? Ask. My mother's voice softens. That scares me more than firmness. Then the review board proceeds. Your designation becomes provisional. Restricted. My chest tightens. Restricted alphas don't choose their lives. They don't choose partners. They don't get to say no. I stand. So this isn't about love, I say, or reconciliation. It's about making sure I don't become something you can't control. You already are, she says gently. That's the problem. Silence stretches. Then he stands too. You said this bond stabilizes him, he says. What about me? My father meets his gaze. You volunteered. No, he replies. I complied. A pause. If I sign, he continues, I want amendments. All eyes turn to him. No medical monitoring without consent, he says. No override clauses. And no interference in private bond dynamics. My mother studies him carefully. You're in no position to negotiate. He doesn't flinch. Then you're in no position to guarantee his cooperation. I feel it then, that subtle shift. Not dominance. Not aggression. Leverage. After a long moment, my mother nods. We'll revise. The meeting adjourns shortly after. When we're finally alone in the corridor, the air rushes back into my lungs like I've been underwater. You didn't have to do that, I say. Yes, he replies quietly. I did. I stop walking. Why? Ask. He turns to face me. No audience. No performance. Because 5 years ago, he says, I let other people decide what I was afraid of. He meets my eyes. I won't let them decide what you are. The words hit harder than any apology. This marriage isn't romance. It's resistance. And for the first time, I realize, if we go through with this, it won't make us smaller. It will make us dangerous. Chapter 9, Shared Air. The house is too quiet. Not empty, just restrained. Like it's holding its breath along with us. They didn't give us a ceremonial estate or a public-facing residence. That would invite scrutiny. Instead, they chose something neutral, modern, minimal, walls designed to absorb sound, containment with good lighting. This is temporary, I say, dropping my bag near the door. Everything is, he replies, setting his coat aside. We stand there for a moment, unsure of the choreography. No witnesses, no script. Just two alphas occupying the same territory for the first time without pretense. The bedroom situation, I begin. There are two, he says immediately. I checked. Relief flickers, then irritation at the fact that I felt it. Good, I say. Silence settles again, heavier now that logistics are out of the way. I move deeper into the house, fingers brushing the edge of a counter. The place smells new, clean, unclaimed. Alpha instincts itch. So, I say without turning, this is us. Yes. Not I guess. Not for now. Just yes. I finally face him. His jacket is off. Sleeves rolled up. He looks contained. Like he's holding something back deliberately. What are the rules? Ask. He considers. No dominance games. Agreed. No assumptions. Necessary. No touching unless we mean it. That makes me pause. I didn't plan on touching you at all, I say. I know, he replies. That's why it needs to be said. Something sharp and electric runs between us. Not attraction, not hostility. Recognition. I nod once. Later, I wake to the sense of another alpha nearby. Not threatening, not comforting, present. The house settles around us, unfamiliar sounds mapping themselves into my awareness. I sit up, pulse steady but alert. My door is open. He stands in the hallway, not crossing the threshold. I didn't mean to wake you, he says quietly. You didn't, I reply. I woke because you were there. He absorbs that. I thought you should know, he says. The board meets in 48 hours. About me. About us. I swing my legs over the side of the bed. And they'll test the bond dynamics. I laugh softly. There is no bond. Not yet, he agrees. Yet, the word lingers. He turns to leave, then hesitates. For what it's worth, he says, back still to me. I won't use instinct against you. I know, I reply. You never did. That makes him turn. For a moment, we just look at each other across the narrow stretch of hallway. Two alphas. Equal ground. No masks left to hide behind. This won't be easy, he says. I don't want easy, I answer. I want honest. A beat. I can do that, he says. When he finally retreats to his room, the house exhales. I lie back down, staring at the ceiling, instincts restless but not screaming. This marriage isn't a bond yet, but the air between us is already shared. And that, I realize, might be the most dangerous thing of all. Chapter 10, Proximity. The review board doesn't wait for courtesy. They arrive at dawn. 3 officials. Neutral suits. Alpha suppressors humming faintly at their belts like a reminder of who usually wins these encounters. I feel them before I see them. My instincts rise, not aggressive, not panicked. Watchful. Like something inside me has learned this shape of threat too well. He's already beside me when we enter the living space. Not in front of me, not behind. Aligned. That alone draws interest. One of them, older, sharp-eyed, makes a note on his tablet. Interesting, he murmurs. I don't bother hiding my smile. They separate us for the assessment. Standard procedure, they say. I refuse. I don't consent to isolation. I say calmly. That violates the amended clause. A pause. They check the document. Annoyance flickers. He speaks then. You want to observe bond dynamics? Then observe them honestly. Another note. They let us stay in the same room, but position us at opposite ends. Too far. I feel it immediately. Not pain. Not panic. Disorientation. Like a frequency dropped out of range. My breathing stays even, but my alpha presence sharpens unconsciously, pushing against the artificial distance. He feels it too. I know because his shoulders tense. Heart rate elevated, one official says. Expected. Another replies. Dual alpha proximity destabilization. Only when forced, he interrupts. Their gazes snap to him. I'm fine, I say flatly. You're the variable. The older official watches us closely now. Then close the distance. The room stills. That's not a request, he adds. It's a test. I don't move. Neither does he. Seconds tick by. Then quietly, deliberately, he crosses the room. He stops a step away from me. Too close for protocol. Not close enough for comfort. The effect is immediate. My instincts don't spike. They settle. The edge dulls. The pressure eases. Something in my chest unwinds like it's been waiting for this exact alignment. The room smells different now. Balanced. The officials exchange looks. Fascinating. One murmurs. I hate the word. They ask questions. Measure responses. Observe reactions. I barely hear them, because his hand is hovering near mine. Not touching, not claiming. Just there. The test ends abruptly. We've seen enough, the older official says. For now. For now. After they leave, the silence crashes down hard. I pull my hand back first. That was manipulation, I say. Yes, he agrees. And you played into it. Yes. I turn on him. Why? Because they needed proof, he says. And so did you. I still. What proof? That you don't destabilize, he says quietly. You stabilize when you're not alone. The words hit harder than I expect. I don't need you to function, I say. I know, he replies. That's not what this is. Then what is it? He hesitates just a fraction. Choice, he says. Something neither of us was given before. The house feels smaller again. Charged. What happens when instinct stops cooperating? Ask. His gaze drops to my throat. My pulse. Then we decide, he says. Not them. The honesty in his voice is terrifying. Because I believe him. Later that night, I stand at the kitchen sink, staring out at the dark. I feel him approach before I hear him. Run, he says softly. I turn. He stops a careful distance away. We should talk about boundaries, he says. I almost laugh. Too late for that. No, he says. Just in time. The space between us hums, not with desire, but with possibility. With the kind of tension that doesn't break easily. This marriage still isn't a bond. But something has shifted. And whatever comes next won't be decided by reports or parents or boards that don't understand what it means to stand equal. It will be decided here. Between us. Chapter 11. The line we don't cross. Boundaries are easy to discuss in theory. They become harder when instinct learns the shape of another body. It happens 2 days after the assessment. Nothing special about the morning. No alarms. No officials. Just routine settling into our shared space like it's trying to convince us this is normal. I'm in the kitchen when it hits. A sharp flare, too sudden to ignore. Not aggression. Not heat. Recognition. I still before my mind catches up. Fingers tightening around the edge of the counter. Behind me, a chair scrapes softly. He freezes. You feel that? I say. Yes. The air thickens. Charged. Not loud, but unmistakable. Like something ancient just opened one eye. This isn't attraction. This is instinct finally admitting the truth. We turn at the same time. The distance between us is wrong. Too close to ignore, too far to settle. His alpha presence presses in, not dominant, not demanding. Inviting. My pulse stutters. Once. I hate that my body answers before my pride does. This is why they paired us, I say tightly. This reaction. No, he replies, voice low. This is why they're afraid of us. I take a step back. He doesn't follow. Good. The restraint matters. Don't, I warn. I'm not, he says immediately. I won't. But his eyes betray him. Dark, focused, painfully. We stand there, two alphas holding themselves at the edge of something unnamed. Minutes pass. The instinct dulls. Reluctantly, like it's memorizing the way restraint feels. When it's over, I exhale slowly. That, I say, can't happen again. He nods. Not without intent. I meet his gaze sharply. That's not permission. I know, he replies. It's respect. Later that night, I lie awake, staring at the ceiling. The house is quiet, but my body isn't. For the first time, instinct isn't fighting me. It's waiting. That realization is worse than fear, because fear can be controlled. Want, especially unclaimed, unspoken want, is patient. And patience, I'm starting to understand, is where lines are truly tested. Chapter 12, Terms and Conditions. The message arrives at noon. Encrypted. Bloodless. Mandatory compliance review. Attendance required. Both parties. Failure to comply will result in provisional reclassification. I read it twice, then a third time, just to be sure the words don't soften if I stare long enough. They're moving early, I say. He looks up from across the table. He already knows. They felt the shift, he replies. The assessment wasn't neutral. No, I agree. It was confirmation. We don't touch. Haven't since that morning. But the air between us has changed, subtly tuned, like something learned the exact distance needed not to hurt. The review room is smaller this time. No observers. No ceremony. Just us and a single official I don't recognize. She smiles too easily. We're not here to punish, she begins. I sit back. That's usually how punishment starts. Her smile tightens. Your compatibility index has exceeded projections. Compatibility, he repeats flatly. We're not a data set. Everything is, she says. Eventually, she taps her screen, projecting graphs I don't bother pretending to understand. Your proximity reduces dominance volatility by 43%, she continues. That's unprecedented in dual alpha pairings. And your concern is? Ask. That such stabilization occurred without a completed bond. The room cools. We didn't agree to bonding, I say. No, she says gently. But instinct appears to be moving faster than consent. I lean forward. Careful. She doesn't flinch. The board proposes acceleration, she says. A formal bond ceremony. Supervised. Controlled. My jaw tightens. No, I say immediately. He doesn't speak, but the air sharpens. She studies us both. Refusal will result in reassignment, she says. Separate residences. Suppressants. Monitoring. Containment. Again, I laugh quietly. You really don't learn. This isn't about control, she insists. It's about safety. Whose? He asks. She pauses. Chapter 13, Choice. They expect a spectacle. A ceremony. Witnesses. Data points wrapped in tradition and approval. We don't give them any of it. The summons comes at dawn. Final review. Binding authorization pending. The kind of message that assumes compliance because it has never been denied before. I delete it. He watches me do it. Doesn't stop me. Once we do this, I say quietly, there's no undoing the consequences. There never was, he replies. We stand in the bedroom, not the larger one, not the one chosen for appearances. The smaller space, neutral, bare. No symbols, no officials, no audience, just us. 5 years ago, he ran because he thought loving me meant losing himself. Now he stands in front of me, steady, unafraid. I didn't leave because you were an alpha, he says, finally saying the truth out loud. I left because I didn't know how to stand beside one. I hold his gaze. And now I do. There's no dominance in the air, no command, no pull that overrides thought, only intent. Say no, he tells me, and I'll walk away again, this time without running. The choice is mine. That matters more than instinct ever could. I step closer, not because biology demands it, because I want to. I don't want a bond that cages us. I say, I won't kneel. I won't lead. Good, he answers. Neither will I. When we touch, it's deliberate. Hands warm, steady, equal height, equal ground. The bond forms quietly, not explosive, not consuming. Settles like alignment clicking into place. Two forces choosing coexistence instead of hierarchy. The world doesn't shatter. The system does. By nightfall, the board's authority over us collapses. Their projections fail. Their classifications don't hold. A bonded pair that doesn't obey the rules breaks every containment model they have. They call it unprecedented. We call it freedom. Later, alone again, the house feels different. Claimed but not owned. He stands beside me at the window. No running, I say softly. Never again, he answers. We don't promise forever. We promise honesty, choice, equality, and that, I've learned, is the only bond worth surviving. Thank you for staying with this story. This wasn't a love built on labels, hierarchy, or weakness. It was a choice made twice. If the story moved you, challenged you, or stayed with you longer than expected, support the channel BL Without Labels. Speech Balloon, share your thoughts in the comments. Red heart like if you believe love doesn't need permission. Bell subscribe BL Without Labels for more ABO BL stories without rules, without cages. Every view, every comment helps keep stories like this alive. Stay with us. More stories are coming.